so this is my game against international master Jason Liang. Alright, 3, 2, 1. Alright, so this is my game against international master Jason Liang. Right now I'm 3.5 out of 7. And I've been saying this every round, but this is kind of a must win. Because I think if I lose, I'll probably play down. I mean, I guess I could draw and still have a chance. 6 out of 9, I think, would get a norm. But a win here would be really, really big. And my favorite part about this game is I really didn't have to play. My opening prep really came through. I'll show you guys in a sec. So we start with the Caro-Kann. And I already won one game against the Caro-Kann. I think I did look up this guy, and I knew he was playing Caro, so I looked over some stuff before the game. And he plays knight f6. Okay, so this line, this is all still theory. I think the idea is you have double pawns, but you kind of have an easy way to play. So generally, endgames are weak for black because he has his double pawns, but it's very easy for him to equalize and get mobile pieces. So as white, I just kind of play kind of controlled, but I do castle queenside, so I am kind of still trying to play some fun stuff. And h5 is, I think, the very popular line here. Real quick, I think he was thinking about this too. Can you go bishop f4? But I think I've looked at this idea, and I'm pretty sure it's good for white. Though I didn't see that this is the refutation. Here, knight e2, and I probably would have castled queenside here, but you want to go queen d2 first, and then you can castle queenside. Now I know, so I don't have to worry about that next time. So he goes h5, and I go castle queenside, bishop e6, still prep, and I go knight e2. And the idea that white wants to do in a lot of variations is c4 and knight c3. And that's kind of how white justifies being better in this position. If you try to do the normal stuff and attack over here, h5 is a really good move to stop that. So he goes knight d7, and now I don't have to worry about this pawn, because if he ever takes here, I just have d3, and this queen, eventually the bishop gets trapped, and just king d2, rook a1. It looks kind of sketch, but it is +3. If that was like +1, then I probably wouldn't do it, but +3 is pretty much almost like a guaranteed win. So I'm willing to put my king on d2. So c4, still prep, a3, b5, and actually here, this is where I was really excited, because this line, I didn't look at this right before the round, but the Tuesday before the tournament, I actually prepped a lot of Caro-Kann, and I have this line in my database. Let me show you guys. So if I go to Caro, knight c3, and then click on knight f6, we come here, and this exact position is in my database. It just, because I was like, queen a5 is kind of aggressive, like I don't want to have to deal with it. So what do I do? And I literally have it all the way to b5, c5. I know bishop check first, which looks kind of funny, but this is actually the best move. And I specifically remember thinking during the game, because during the prep, I was like, what happens if he goes bishop b3 and wins the exchange? And that's what I remember from my prep, and I was like, okay, I have to get to this position, because that's what I remember. And I remember looking at it, asking this question, and knowing the computer was like, white's just winning here, because you're hitting the 2 rooks, you're hitting the knight, you're hitting the rook. If he takes here, you can even just take, and I think you're winning, because you're still guaranteed at least the exchange back, and you have these connected pass pawns. And the endgame is really easy. So now we go to the game, and I have the same exact position. I go c5, he goes bishop c7. I go bishop h7 check. I was thinking maybe he can go king f8. I was probably going to do the same thing, but I was thinking maybe he does that, because I didn't look at that as deep, but I think it's still good for white. So if he goes king h8, I go bishop e4, he goes b4, I take, he goes queen takes, and I remember like, yes, this is exactly where I want it to be. Because I remember what happens if he wins exchange. Oh wait, I'm winning. So I take on c6, he goes rook b8, and this is kind of where the prep stops. This is what, almost move 20, move 19, and here I'm already +4. So this is why you study openings, and this is why you have to be very careful when you're going into some of this kind of stuff. So queen c3 is still pretty easy to play. I can force the queen trade. The queen can't go anywhere. His only kind of counterplay is my king is kind of weak. So I get all these pass pawns, but I'm not playing on the king side. I'm playing over here where my king is. So I have to be a little bit careful. And this is when I kind of start losing my way a little bit. So I take, trade, and here I wanted to go knight c3. I was like, okay, if he takes here, I think I just take, and then knight d5 is really strong. I always get my material back. But then I was like, maybe he goes like rook b8, and then I have to go like rook d2, and then there's like rook b3 and some sack on c3 at some point. And I honestly should have just gone for it. But I was like, okay, I see bishop f3, let me just trade off. I mean, if I get these double pawns, it really doesn't matter, because these 2 pawns are my money makers, and now it's easy to survive the attack. The problem is he doesn't trade, because, I mean, he played really well after he got out-prepped, kind of, and he made it pretty difficult for me, and I had to make some tough decisions. So bishop f5, and I see this idea, bishop d5. I guess the problem So I should have gone knight c3, but what I thought here was he's going to do something like this, and then like here, and try to take. I mean, I don't know. I was really paranoid about this idea. And I was like, how do I defend here? Because he can just take here, and then rook here is mate. But I guess I can just go rook e2. And even here, I was like, wait, isn't he just like up a piece? But these pass pawns are just g4. Wait, but bishop takes? Oh, that's nasty. I didn't see that. That's what I missed in my calculations, because I did see like, okay, a rook e2 survives, but then he wins the rook, but then I missed g4, which is actually really sick. Okay, so back to the game. I played bishop d5, and the problem with bishop d5, I mean, it's not losing, but I did see after this, after b3, my plan was b3, king b2, and now I'm just cruising. I hold the fort, the attack's over, and now I can start pushing my pawns. But he has rook takes b3, which actually made me a little bit nervous here. Because here, like, okay, I'm up in exchange, and I got these pawns, but he's got hella activity, and my king is definitely a little sus. And I find the only move, and I think everything else really does lose. Because king d2, he's just going to take me back home, and now I'm cooked. My king is in big trouble. But when you're defending, defend with tempo. And that's what I really liked about this tournament. I played very solid, and my defense really carried me. So knight g3, he goes bishop g6. Obviously, check doesn't work, I just move over. And what knight g3 does is it also gives my king space to run, or to block and stuff. Because before, if my king came to e2, I mean, I couldn't come to e2. But now if I come to e2, I always have like bishop d2. Okay, that's knight g3, king here, and I would have bishop d2 to block things, which is why this is very clutch. So here, king d2, he goes h4. This is another example of why I defend with tempo. And I actually, once again, I guess find the only move. Knight f1 I was thinking about, and I was like, that does defend, but this looks way better. Because now if he takes, I take with check, his king moves, and I would take an a7. So technically, it's 2 pieces for a rook, but I'm getting my piece back, and once again, I have my money makers. So these pawns will carry me, and if he sacks a piece, now I'm just up in exchange and a pass pawn, which is going to be a lot more easier to defend, and he can't checkmate me anymore, because there's a lot more, I guess, open space for my king to run. So if he goes a5, I go knight f1, bishop e4, and this is another, I think, pretty good move I played, just king e2. Because if he takes on g2, I'm just going to go knight d2. Once again, I'm making it as easy as possible for my king to survive and for me to get my pieces out. Funny thought I was really thinking about this game was this rook on h1 is like Klay Thompson. If this rook comes back into the game, it's over. We're winning. These guys got to do their best during the regular season to kind of hold down the record, and then once Klay comes back, dude, it's over. And you'll see, like, Klay comes back with thunder. So bishop d3 check, king d1, and this is when I start feeling like, alright, I got this. Once his pieces start moving back, I can start moving my pieces forward, and then trade off too. This gets me a lot of space. Now here, I wanted to go rook b1 and get Klay in, but if I go rook b1, he takes, and now my king's a little bit farther away. Obviously, I think still winning, but I was like, I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to make sure Klay comes back in perfect form. So I go rook b3. Now when he takes, or if he takes, my king comes forward, and Klay's going to come back with a better move. I mean, I guess we lost Steph in the process, but we're doing it for Klay, man. This is Klay's game. So rook b3, trade, king b3, and even here, I don't rush it. Because if his knight comes here, maybe he can get some like blockade or something. So I first get my king to c4. That way, I control the square, I can always push this pawn, and Klay is going to come back with authority. So king f8, h3, knight d7, and then rook b1. The move that Klay comes back from the game, he resigns. How poetic is that? It's like this whole game, I was waiting to get the rook on h1 into the game, and then the move the rook on h1 comes in, he resigns. Like that is beauty in its finest right there. So this was a very, very nice game, I think. Very good prep. I lost my way just a couple moves, but then the defense was very controlled, very like accurate, and I kind of did. I think the easiest way to defend is right here. So pretty happy with this game, and now I'm 4.5 out of 7, and that's a I was 3.5 out of 6, and now I'm 4.5 out of 7, and that's a pretty baller score. Back to back, drew an IM, beat an IM, and now I'm going to the last day, and the big thought in my head is if I win the next game, I clinch, and I'll talk more about that in round 8.